The shoulder medial rotation is critical.
We're talking about the medial rotation of the shoulder joint with Steve Friederang. It's all about the strokes and the shoulder positioning.
The shoulder medial rotation is critical. What I was just telling her looks like a very minor thing, but they've heard it a lot and they still mistake it a lot, but not as much as they used to. The average, we really teach this in breaststroke. When people come in and their shoulders are rotated this way, okay, we want medial rotation of the shoulder joint. That's this way. If you're rotated this way, the only thing you can do with your elbows is bend them toward your face, right? You can look like this, like you're doing it right, but my shoulders are still rotated out. It's hard to see. It's really subtle. Now watch just my shoulder. It's good that I'm wearing a tank top now. All right, it's from here to here. It's very subtle. It's very hard to see, almost impossible to see when you're just watching from the deck. It's even really hard to see unless you're absolutely looking for it. But what you'll see, even if you can't tell they're doing it, is when they put their, especially in butterfly or breaststroke, if they have their hands here, they can't, and their shoulders are rotated out. Now look, the hands are the same. So, right, you could actually rotate at the wrist joint and put the hands in the right place, and it looks like they're in streamlined position. It looks like they can pull, but they can't because the shoulders are rotated outward. They can't do this. They can't rotate and get a early vertical forearm. They can't do it. It's just physically impossible. No matter how flexible you are, but some people are very flexible, get away with a lot of it, and can have a really narrow front pull. But I don't even like that. So, I mean, the only reason I like it is you don't have to get the hands out and then get in this position. But again, even if the hands are out, they could have their shoulders rotated the wrong way. And so it looks like they're pulling back, but they're not. And it looks like they're dropping their elbow, but they're not. It's the shoulder rotation here that once it's rotated in, now they can come in here and pull themselves forward by pressing the water backward. But until the shoulder is rotated inward, then that won't happen. Now, the clue is that most good swimmers rotate their shoulders inward and pull with an early vertical forearm. But there's a pause. So when you have that glide in the front of freestyle, they've got their shoulder rotated out a little bit like this. And so they're gliding because they can't pull. Then they pull and they get done. Then this arm starts moving, and then they start to rotate in and get the water. During that time, that loss of velocity is when we have an opportunity to swim faster than people that do that. So what we need to do is go into the water, come in here with the shoulder rotated in the right place so you can take the stroke immediately. You don't have to because you're still pressing maybe. And then by the second you want to, you can. You don't have to go like this and like this. So that's what we saw her doing, and she was really pretty straight. But that's a critical thing, and especially in breaststroke, and you'll see me talk, we'll do a whole thing on breaststroke. Jacoby has it right, and very few women do. So it's just something we'll talk about at length, and you guys will be able to, if you're watching this and you haven't been interactive with us, you'll be able to challenge what I'm saying, and you might even be right. But we're pretty sure we've got this right, where you don't come forward like this, upside down, and then take all of this time to go wide and then get up over your shoulders. That instead you can just go to here, shoulders are immediately rotated, and come to here, okay? And if you watch the world record holder for women, you'll see that she actually sometimes comes all the way to here, but she does not come upside down very much. There's a little bit of upside down. I have no clue as to why that would be an advantage. And everybody says, well, you're more streamlined to the water, but you're really not. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks, Mark.
Let's talk about this again. So you have your shoulder rotation. So you could have like your thumbs down, which is going to bring the back forward, right? Or the other way. So is that what you're talking about? Like a shoulder, you can do your wrist, but if you're using your whole arm, you're rotating forward or back. So you wanted them to rotate in and forward on the reach.
Yeah, and it's very subtle. So I don't necessarily want the hand to be this way because that's mostly the wrist joint anyway. but I do want, yeah, that rotated to there. That's why it's very subtle. Again, it's from here to here. That's it. That's all it is. But look at this. Look at the difference. From here, I can't do this, but from here, it's easy to do this. So that's, if you just play with it, you realize you'd be totally impinged if your hands were too close and you try to do this. And that's why we reach out for butterfly. That's why I tell my butterfliers to come in a little wider than is logical, right? A lot of people are from breaststroke, they go in straight, but they can't rotate here. And even if you try to rotate the shoulders, but when you rotate the shoulders naturally, you come into here. I think this is one of the reasons my flyers can go. We have 2 people who can go literally an hour a fly, and it's just like going an hour free, because they're not fighting that the whole time. They're coming in a very natural rotation position instead of trying to go to here and then try to crank it, creak it like that. So there's a lot of advantages to it.
So what's the biomechanical words for this?
It's just called medial rotation of the shoulder joint. So it's like turning the door from a doorknob with your right hand from the left to the right, in a sense.
Yeah.
But then you could do that just with your wrist too. The wrist
Right.
wouldn't be enough. The wrist
No.
wouldn't be enough. No matter where the hand's going in, you could still have it right or wrong. And the way to tell, by the way, if you see swimmers that bounce a lot, that's why, because they can't do this in this position. They can't get over the top. So they have to rotate the shoulder, but sometimes they don't. So then they just go in here. And by the way, this takes early vertical forearm. Sounds really cute and really easy. We don't even say it that way anymore. We just say keep your elbow at the lane line. And again, we can talk about that too. The elbow never goes below the lane line. But no, I said elbow.
Elbow at the lane line. Excuse me.
Right.
So
Yep.
you don't want you want the elbow to be the depth of the lane line.
Yeah, the bottom of the lane line. We tell them that. Nobody ever does it completely. But if it's a way better than saying early vertical forearm. You get an early vertical forearm by putting your hand in at your nose. It's still early vertical, but you didn't get all of this motion, right? But see how my arm didn't go down at all, and that's kind of how you want it, line. But if you do this enough, this joint is what's making you go forward, not your lats and your chest as much, right? So this is why I don't think one stroke is right all the time for an individual. I don't want to go so far as to say, oh, this stroke is right for this person. I don't think it's that simple. When we were working with those 8, Olympic type swimmers last year with Mark Schubert, we saw a lot of different things. A lot of people who had been millions and millions and millions of miles, and they'd all been tremendous amount of mileage, had learned to go deeper on their catch down here than we really want. There's a lot of drag here, and it's a lot slower. But the problem is that the opportunity is you get to use your chest. You can feel it here if you press on it, and you can use your lats when you go more straight here. But you can go more forward when you go like this with less resistance. So I believe you should have a combination of those things. But even with the people that are going straight, they also need to have their shoulder in a position where it's a natural, kind of a more natural thing. But having said all that, you also need to test how much strength there is on this rotation versus this rotation. You need to have balance between the two. I'm not saying they need to be equally strong, because the muscles that are extending this are, teres minor, infraspinatus. Those muscles are very small muscles and aren't ever going to be as strong as this kind of rotation. But they need to be balanced. In other words, if you're looking for maybe 70% or 80%, it needs to be there. When it's not, then the shoulder joint, the capsule, gets moved forward. And if you're adding push-ups and you're adding other things, bench press and stuff like that, you're just making this side a lot bigger and stronger and this side a lot weaker. So sometimes I'll just pat a swimmer on the back, literally, hey, how you doing? And I can tell if it's sort of, not very toned back here, that we need to work on that. And if they walk in like gorillas, same thing. You see a lot of swimmers walking like this because they're working this, and that's a problem. So and by the way, when this is overdone, you'll tend to pull straighter so that you go to your chest and your lats. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you need the conditioning of swimming farther, that allows you to be able to swim some more. But when you get them closer to where they're going to be racing full speed, you're going to want to rest that shoulder joint a little bit, maybe do a lot more kicking. By the way, all 4 strokes, I've heard coaches tell me this, my swimmer's shoulders are fried, so I'm going to have them do backstroke. It's the same motion. from here to here, right? The same rotator. So you've got to do something different than that. Even breaststroke, if it's done right, shoulder rotators. If it's done wrong, people just come up here and they use mostly legs, and that's very common. Same motion, so you got to do something on the other side. And some days, guys, you just need to kick, not use those shoulders at all. I mean, this is how you'd be in the weight room if you're actually pulling a lot of weight. You would have some days where you're just doing legs, right? If you're swimming correctly, and that's a big if, because you're not doing it right if you're not filming and you're not telling whether or not, Mark, to my point, if you're not filming at the side and you really can't tell how far underneath the lane line they're getting or how far they're going in the early part of the stroke. Now we have the advantage of having a swim bench that's designed, Mark, you've seen it, swim bench that's designed to be able to tell you the power from here to here. And so that tells us, are we getting better at that? Are we over fatigued? Do we need to do some other things? But you can see that with an underwater video. You really can't see it from the top. But what I will say about that is if you're going less, theoretically, if you're not going full speed all the time, because if you're going full speed all the time, it's like doing maximum bench press every day. How many other athletes go maximum every day? And we're asking for, ultra, even faster than swimming speed every day and lay off the slower stuff. I disagree. If you go the slower stuff the right way, you key it in mentally, you key it in physically, and you build capillaries. And there's a lot of great things that happen when you're swimming slower that you can't do when you're going full speed. So, but that all said, that's what we're looking for as much as we can do it. The elbow stays right here. It doesn't go past your eye until your hand gets to your eye, and then it goes to here. So your elbow doesn't go past your eye, and it doesn't go lower than the lane line. So you're right here. In butterfly, in breaststroke, in freestyle, and of course backstroke is a little bit harder to see, but you're still looking for that instead of this or really deep and whatever. Okay, so these rotators become super important as to whether or not you're going to reach your potential as a swimmer, especially in the front end of the stroke. But the front end does produce the back end.
Now we're going to jump to a lesson segment. Now stay with us to the end because there's going to be an invite so that you can join us in our next discussion and have your questions answered and argue with Steve.
And it's not terrible. And a little bit of this is in there, so make sure your shoulders maybe rotate. Clark about there. All right, return.
This is a position where you can't go forward on this arm. Detail. You can't go forward. You can only press down. You can only go like this. And it's because your shoulder joint wasn't rotated
This way. Your shoulder joint was immediately rotated. Now you can pull, but you have it like this.
So you have two choices right now. Push down or wait to rotate it in. Well, why not just take it from here and make sure to be immediately rotated as you enter so that you can pull right away. This is a pull reach.
Watch the difference. See how subtle it is? Do this for inch. Not turning your hand stays here. Just your shoulder. Feel it? Pull it? Yeah. So now right here, on this inside, you can pull. Turn it outside. Look here. Turn it outside. The depth, turn it outside. Now, try to pull water. Can't, can you? Can only pull down. Try to pull me toward you. Bend over. Down. So you're trying to come toward me. You're pushing down. Try to pull me to you. Rotate your shoulder in. Now press. See? Now you're pulling me toward you. Make sense? It's so subtle, most people can't see it. But you can certainly see it there if you're looking for it, kinda. Right? This doesn't look like you're going to wait for it. Everybody see that? It's a hard thing to see. It's a hard thing to know that as you enter, the shoulder has to be ready to go here. If it's here, you have two choices. Biceps to here, and from breaststroke pull or butterfly pull, biceps to here, or push down. Those are your choices. Or, finally, rotate them in. And I think that's one reason that you have that little brighter or butterfly. Okay? Which we didn't talk about. And the last thing is true, and you have that same thing in breaststroke. You're really not able to pull as much because we're kind of pushing down and it's kind of going to a happy has the same problem. Since we tested breast pull, we might out that's the problems. Okay. So we'll make sure we test breast full extent. So knowing that you're going to do that, make sure every time you do breaststroke or initial part of fly or surgical tube or anything you're trying to do better that way, that you're immediately rotating the shoulders and you're just getting stronger in that motion. But it's mostly just making it. As you do it, eventually you're going to turn, eventually you go forward. This isn't forward. This aren't done. So that's what that ditch is.
I think part of it is the same side breathing, but part of it is just that putting a hand in prop base and then you turn it.
Worry about right knee of the CBAT. So what I normally do is I transfer this to QuickTime and I go through frame by frame with multiple screens. We go side by side and look at this compared with Becky or whatever. And this is how we're going to beat her. All right. Simus beat her, but she retired last week. So there's a wide opening in the 400 free. You want it? It's all yours. All right. See ya. Thanks.
The audio from Steve's lesson was enhanced to get rid of the background pool sounds. So that's why the voice was a little bit wonky. And if you want to join us, what are you doing on Wednesday at 1:30 Eastern Time? We're going to have weekly conversations, and you're more than welcome to come aboard. So you'll go to our Heavy or Not website, and you can find the link, but that's always going to be at meetin.com/wasu. Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Jump on a call with us, and we'll record a conversation and make sure that our swim knowledge is staying up to snuff.
So you see her hand in here. Do we love it? Do we hate it? Is it heavy or not? Did she rotate early enough? My opinion right here is she did not. You can tell everybody that they can find me on Coach Up if they're looking for somebody to coach
Okay.
them.